Okay. Presentation for today. That's not Peter Norman, that's me. And I will be presenting film stripping in 3D. Thank you again to our donors. You too can be a donor. Go to our Patreon, patreon.com/Brooklyn Stereoscopic. And I want to turn it over for a moment to Pascal to see if you have any updates on our sister site. I know I owe you something, Pascal.
Well, thank you, Keita, but no updates for today since I will add your article for your presentation in the next days, I think. Nothing new so far. There will be a few new galleries this week, probably, so stay tuned and have a look. Thank you.
And that is our support group that we talked about last week for those of you who are beginners and trying things out and you need help. There's a way to get in touch with this group through stereosite.com. And I wonder, is this, okay, well, if you want to present, I will also throw the link into the chat to the forum where you can sign up to present. I may have mentioned that we have presenters booked through end of January. We have had 1 or 2 cancellations. So if you are interested in presenting in November, go ahead and get in touch with me and I can get you in there. But we have some tutorials. We have a couple of stereographer spotlights, Carlene, Graham, and what else do we have? We've got a presentation on fractals, anaglyphs, some really cool things coming up. Something else that I wanted to mention that we were just talking about, and I don't have a survey ready now, but I can throw it out and you guys can type in the chat room if you have any ideas of other types of activities you might want to do as a community. We want to, I know we do a lot of presentations and it doesn't give everyone the opportunity to be involved. So we want to have some things where you guys can be more involved. So we were thinking of doing workshops. Maybe those would be scheduled separately from our meetings. And you don't have to attend those, but if it's on a topic that you'd like to learn more. And so it would actually be something where during the meeting, you are working on something and somebody who is really good at it would be helping you out. And then we might take the results of that and then show in our next meeting. So we were talking about doing that. We're also talking about having missions where we send everybody off to do maybe some kind of 3D photography mission, or maybe I don't know, something, and see the results of it the next time. So any other ideas you guys have like that, just to get to know each other better and just have more interactive participation, please throw it in the chat room. If you've seen something in another club that you would like to try with our group, that would be great. If you don't want to do anything else, go ahead and mention that as well. All right, so I'm going to stop presenting. I want to turn it over to Ian quickly to mention a special presentation that he's planning. So
yes, thanks.
Go ahead and talk about that.
On 8 November, which is Remembrance Sunday in Britain, and I feel like an appropriate time, a couple of days before Armistice Day, and a Sunday at a regular time, I'm going to be hosting a special meeting for BSA members, non-members, anyone interested in the Great War, to show and discuss Great War stereography. I'm going to be debuting a bunch of new slides previously unseen by probably just about anyone in the past 100 years. But we can also just talk Great War. You don't have to bring 3D items. I'm going to open with a passage from a soldier's diary. We can do Great War poetry, just generally chatting about the war and its impact and what it means to us 102 years after it ended. So I'd like to heartily invite all of you out for that. It's in between two of our regular meetings, and will be very informal. People can just jump in with things they'd like to show or talk about, or kick back and listen.
Could you repeat the date and time, please?
Yes, 8 November, 2 p.m. EDT, like this meeting. So it'd be, what, 11 on the left coast, 7 in UK, 8 in Central Europe.
Thank you.
Of course.
All right. Thank you, Ian. Anyone else, leadership-wise, have anything to share that I may have forgotten? Stacy, Ian, Pascal, Andre. All right. And for those of you who may have joined in the last few minutes, if you will have something to show in show and tell, please go ahead and type show in the chat so that I can call on you when it's time. All right. So I'm going to try to switch gears in my mind here to now switch over to presenting my talk, which is sort of informal. So a lot of pictures. Hang on, let me. How I want to do this. Okay. Can one person just let me know if you can see my screen? Someone say yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, great. All right, so I have to tell you, I had a hard time like putting this together. Oh, hang on. Let me just let somebody in really quickly before I get started. Okay. Had a hard time trying to really narrow down this topic, because this is sort of where my heart is with the viewers that show film strips. And of course, True View falls into that category. And those of you who know me know that I am a really avid True View collector and trying to be a historian. And so to keep this into 20 minutes, I wanted to talk about the other viewers, but I am going to break into some True View history and just give a little tease about an upcoming historical essay that I have. So I'm going to try to really breeze through some of the slides. So there'll be time for questions afterward. So really my talk is about, you know, we had originally with stereoscopes, we had these single view cards, and later with Viewmaster, we ended up with reels, and then we also had multi-view cards, and we have these single view slides. I'm kind of talking about the period sort of transitioning in between those. So I know cards, those initial cards were produced along with film strips, but there was this period, and actually the one book, the Stereoscopes book by Paul Wing, he actually stops his book there and says that there's a whole period that you could just devote another book to, another volume, just to the film strip viewers. But he thought just for the scope of his book that he would pause there. So that's sort of where I'm picking up. And I'm just going to jump right in because I want to spend a little bit more time on the TrueView history. So this is, and forgive me if I butcher any of the terminology here, but this was one of the earliest film strip viewers, the Homeos out of France. And this was around the 1910s, maybe right around 1914, and it was an accessory to the Homeos stereo camera, which is said to be the world's first 35mm stereo camera, created by the French industrialist Richard, who helped really to spread stereo photography to the masses with the Veriscope line. And this one is made of wood, and I have two types in my collection. So this is one of my favorite ones. It has the film holder on the side, and the handle that you see at the bottom is actually used to advance the film. And there is a version without. So in my next slides, you'll see me sort of comparing the two of them together. But I am going to go through it pretty quickly. So the other, and these are both in my collection, I actually just got the one without the handle and without the film holders on the side. I actually just got that one earlier this week. And in time to compare the two for you. So you have a different way of, I'm sorry. I don't normally do this, but I am going to, okay, sorry. Stop to let people in. All right. So there you can see some differences in how you adjust the lenses and how you advance the film. And so on the one without the handle at the bottom, the film is advanced with what I thought was actually, so you'll see the top lifted up there. I thought you actually turned that, but you push it in and it grabs hold of the sprockets with the little tooth that you can see there, and you advance the film that way. Moving into the 1920s, we have the Hollywood Filmoscope. And I'm sorry, I didn't put the company here, but it's made of metal, as you can see. And it was, I was looking up who actually had the patent on this. And I'll get into that in a moment, but here is a little bit of the design. The really cool thing is it folds completely flat. And so there was an application in 1928. The patent for this was filed by someone named Andre, I want to say Barlater. And the company that was supposed to produce this was a company out of Laguna Beach called Craftsman Studios. And there was an article in the paper in 1929 that said that it signed this contract to produce 200,000 of these filmoscopes, and that it would have the phrase on it, made in Laguna Beach, California. So I don't know what happened between that and when it actually came out, because it says Hollywood on it, and all of the film related to this is Hollywood related. And so the film, I actually have two in my collection. There are 15 altogether. They're all Hollywood related. Anything related to Filmoscope that you find is collectible. I was going to pause and actually tell you what's collectible out of these different, everything related to this. I only know two other people with one. I know Eric has one. And the other person that I'm not sure if he's on the call, but I know someone else with one. And I have two. And they rarely come up. So if you do see one, grab it. The price varies. Sometimes people don't know what they have. The film, however, I only know one other person with film, and he's the one who sold me these two. And he has, I don't know, maybe another 8 or 9 of them. So really, really hard to find. One of my favorites is this, it's called The Magic Theater. Colleen Moore Magic Theater. It's from the 1930s. And it's made of cardboard, and it was specifically made to advertise the Colleen Moore dollhouse. So Colleen Moore was a famous silent movie star with a passion for building dollhouses. And in the late 20s, she spent like today's equivalent of $7 million to build this elaborate dollhouse that's still on display today in Chicago's Museum of Science and Industry. And to find one of these completely intact like this was just like, for me, a collector's gold mine. So if you ever see one of these, pick it up. It is collectible. I think the people that sell them, I don't know, it's like something paper, $15. To me, it's just priceless. A couple of more views of it. And this is some of the paperwork that came with it, with a description of the different pictures that are on the film. So the film that I have, I only have one, and I have 2 versions. And there's one that has Colleen's photo on it, and the other one doesn't. I think there may have been either advertised, I'm not sure if they actually ever made additional films for it. I know they advertised that there would be additional films, but I don't know. So if anyone else knows, that would be great to find out. However, one of the really cool things that I found was what I feel is a prototype of it. So this is actually made of wood, and it has the same, well, they're similar. I have pictures comparing them, but the illustrations are slightly different, but it's papered onto this wood. And I don't know if this was something that was for sale. I've never seen another one. If anyone has any information on that, that would be great to know. But for now, I'm believing that it was some type of prototype. Moving forward to 1930s, and we'll talk a little bit about DeVry later. So we're still in the US, and DeVry was created by Herman DeVry of the movie projection company DeVry Corp. And DeVry, it is the same company. So eventually QRS, DeVry went bankrupt. DeVry did turn into DeVry Technical Institute, into the same school, if you are familiar in the United States with DeVry, which it's changed its name a few times, but this is the same DeVry. And so they created this viewer, and they competed with TrueView. So I'll talk a little bit about TrueView, but they were also selling films at the 1933 Century of Progress World's Fair. Now, it was said that they also were going to produce advertising films, and that they never did. But I actually do have one, and I found someone else that has one as well. And the films were produced by, I'm not sure if any of you are familiar with Jam Handy. He was an Olympic swimmer who went on to produce tons of training films for auto companies and military. Here's the box. And the paperwork that went with it. So here's where they talked about how you could use this. You could use this to talk to customers. So in terms of film, I do have in my collection 2 of the same film. So the part 1 of the 1933 Century of Progress World's Fair, but I also do have the advertising film, and it was for Goodyear. And I have a few pictures from that film. Okay, so moving on. So novel view, so same time frame. So we're in the 1930s, and this is the same time frame as True View, which we're coming up to. So far we've looked at, you know, in terms of the size and shape of these viewers. We saw DeVries. Here's novel views. Novel view had 2. And so Novel View was produced by a novel art company out of New York. And as I mentioned, there are 2 versions. So this version would advance the film by sliding that piece in and out. They had this other version, sort of the Art Deco version, that had the advance knob. And that is box. And in terms of film, I have 101 in my collection, and there are 65, I have 65 unique titles. There are more. And I do have, the one that's shown here is there is an advertising one. I believe they made a couple, but the one that I have is Jack Armstrong, Jungle Adventure. So that was done for a radio promotion, and at the time it was called a movie scope. Really hard to find this complete set intact with the film not ripped and the viewer is not rusty and the promotional box still looking good. But you can find them. I feel like they show up maybe once a year. Okay, moving on to True View. And I didn't put that True View is out of Chicago, 1930s. So I want to talk a little bit about the history here. So you'll see highlighted over there, Illinois. And I want to back up and start with the company that True View came from, which is a company called Rock Island Bridge and Iron Works. And that's always been a little bit of a mystery to people. Why did a bridge and iron works company start producing this viewer? So it actually started, the company started way back in 1912. And there was a man named Mark Canary. He resigned as the business manager for Des Moines Bridge and Iron Company and decided that Rock Island, which was right by the Mississippi River, would be the perfect spot for starting up another bridge company. So him and 2 other men got licenses to incorporate Rock Island Bridge and Iron Works with about $30,000 capital. And that business would end up lasting another 58 years. It ended in 1970, but it would end up with this dramatic spinoff in a completely unexpected direction that this is why, to me, I'm so fascinated with it, that it really influenced a generation of 3D. And believe it or not, none of that is mentioned on Rock Island's website when you go into their history. So Rock Island is right there on the border of Iowa and Illinois. And if I zoom in a little bit more to Rock Island, and I'll tell you why I'm talking about Rock Island so much in a little bit. But from Wikipedia, basically Rock Island had a rich history of bridge building. And they had the first railroad bridge across the Mississippi, which is now gone, but it was an unusual 2-track railroad bridge. And it was the largest roller dam in the world. And so one of True View's first films is actually on locks and dams. And it's one of the really, really early films that they have. So if you ever find that one, that's a really collectible one. So there is this island that you see there, Rock Island Arsenal. And that's where the town got its name. I think it's actually called Arsenal Island now. So the thing about Rock Island is it wasn't a little sleepy town by the river. It was dubbed at the time the Citadel of Sin. It's not that far from Chicago, where there's just a lot of crime happening. In the Second World War is going to play a big role in TrueView's operations, as it will in almost every business that's running at that time. But the First World War and Prohibition and the Great Depression play a role in TrueView by actually shaping the man that ends up leading it. So, as I was saying, it was called the Citadel of Sin. It had its own mob-style underworld, complete with its own version of Al Capone. And if you're familiar with the movie Road to Perdition, you may remember Paul Newman's character, the ruthless John Rooney. So in real life, his name was John Looney. And during the years that Rock Island Bridge and Ironworks was taking off, he was terrorizing Rock Island. And the organized crime was so rampant with prostitution, blackmail, gunfights, bombing. That's how it actually got its name as the Citadel of Sin. And in fact, Looney actually got beat up by the mayor of Rock Island. And the National Guard came out and stayed in Rock Island for like a month. Why is all of this important? Because the person who was actually elected mayor to clean that up would end up being the person who was president of TrueView. So just to show you a little ad from 1930 paper about Rock Island Bridge and Ironworks. So this guy here, this is Rosenfeld, and he was a National Guardsman. He and his brother organized Rosenfeld Hop and Company, erected the Fort Theater building, played a prominent role as a member of the Citizens Committee to sort of combat in 1922 all of this lawlessness that I was talking about. He served as mayor of Rock Island for 2 terms, and he was elected because he was the one that cleaned that up. And he served in the 1st Illinois Cavalry in the 1916 Mexican War. He was a major in the World War I, and he served in the Illinois National Guard. And he was quoted as saying, "I am ready now for any old game that concerns Rock Island, from peanuts and baseball to business and politics." He was a really, really dynamic person. And it was under his leadership that I believe TrueView became as popular as it did. He didn't invent TrueView. So TrueView was created by Joshua Bennett, and he's the one that owned the original patent. And he had experimented with this concept for years before arriving at Rock Island Bridge and Ironworks. And as we saw already, other companies had been toying with these ideas of these small handheld stereoscopes that use 35 millimeter film strips instead of like the cards. So we had, over in France in the 1910s, and then even around the same time as this was being patented. In fact, a month after this patent, that's when DeVry patented his. And then they both ended up being at the World's Fair. So you had all of these other ones that were, competing. Why did TrueView go on to last so long? So I believe they had one of the greatest marketing campaigns out there. So DeVry created some films, like I said, but TrueView went all out in their advertising. They showed up at the Century of Progress World's Fair with themed viewers. They had themed mailer boxes. You could get them with Chicagoland on it, Century of Progress on it. Their photographers would go on to shoot many, many photos covering the fair. They started out with 4 films and went on to have 8 Century of Progress fairs. They had the Sally Rand film. And that same year, that's when they were ready to go on the record and say that they had this new product called TrueView. And they were being made at the Rock Island Bridge and Iron Works plant. Orders started coming in from all over the US. They had jobbers, salesmen, marketing, selling these. They had to increase employment at the plant. And they were already looking beyond just the World's Fair and travel to having industrial contracts and specialty films like the Locks and Dam that covered the roller gate dam at Rock Island. By November of that same year, so this is just the first year that they came out. We're still in 1933. They'd gone from producing 300 TrueView devices a month to 50,000 per month. And that required hiring more people, 50 salespeople nationwide selling, and new digs in New York. They had offices in Los Angeles, London, orders coming from outside the US. And the Christmas season was a spectacular success. So that's actually a salesman's briefcase that I have in my collection. So I'm gonna have to speed up a little bit here. So their success continued into 1934. TrueView's inventor became, Bennett, he became the general sales manager, and he went into their he worked out of the leased space they had in Rockefeller Center, and they also have films on Rockefeller Center. And then in 34, the World's Fair opened for a second run, and TrueView did another design, a faceplate on their viewer for the 34 World's Fair. It's the only one I don't have. It is really hard to find. So I have several of the 1933 ones. I don't have 1934. But they went on to do these custom plates. Like the third one down says made for Fred Harvey. So that was a restaurant chain at the time. They had these, as you can see, the Bobby Jones golf series. So they were doing all kinds of things. And into 1935, their success continued. And they ended up, there were some new bankruptcy laws around then. And so it prompted Rosenfield to spin off the TrueView department from Rock Island Bridge and Iron Works into its own corporation. The only obstacle was that guy Bennett. So when he came to the company, he came with that patent for TrueView. And so Rock Island Bridge and Iron Works ran with it. I mean, and it was considered, he was an employee of theirs, but when they wanted to spin it off, he was like, that's my patent. So that actually held things up. He was claiming royalties were lost, and it took a couple of years, but they finally did settle. And I think it was at the time, $3,000 settlement with Bennett, and TrueView was incorporated in 1937 with Rosenfield as the president. So I'm almost to the end of TrueView. So in case you're like sick of all this TrueView. So in 1940, they announced their new design. So they went from that old kind of metal and plastic version that they had before to this new streamlined design. But what else was happening around that time? Well, 1939, we know, was the World's Fair in New York, and who was there? Viewmaster. They showed up with their new viewer by Gruber, and competing with TrueView. So, and theirs was completely different. It wasn't the film, obviously, you all know that. It was the reels, and what else? It was color. And you know, TrueView had thought about doing color, and they just didn't do it. But they redesigned their viewer. And also the war started. So World War II started in 39 with US joining in 1941. Something else happened at that time. Rosenfield, so, you know, that guy was just like I said, he was dynamic. He was a business owner. He was a politician. He was a mayor. Well, he got appointed by the governor of Illinois to be, to head up the public works department. So he had to leave Rock Island Bridge and Ironworks because it was too similar to contracts that he might handle with Public Works. However, they found that TrueView did not fall under that category, so he did not have to leave TrueView. So he continued on. And the competition from Viewmaster was really stiff. And we all know how that eventually ended. But it didn't end right away. They actually coexisted for a little while. TrueView eventually came out with color, not the greatest color at the time. They tried to do some other things to compete. Now, it's been said that they started calling theirs reels as well, but there's actually evidence when TrueView first started, they used to call their film strips reels. So I don't think that was done just to compete with Viewmaster. Okay, so forging on, we get into 1943. So what you see is, so Viewmaster had these contracts with the war. So like I said, the war affected companies' ability to produce things. Viewmaster ended up getting some contracts for training films. That's how they were allowed to continue on. Well, so did TrueView. They got contracts. The American Red Cross ordered like 10,000 viewers and sets to be used at different hospitals and on ships. The USO put TrueView in about 500 of their different camps. In 1946, actually, TrueView got sued by a veteran because he thought he'd be able to return to his job. That's a whole other story. And then, you know, they eventually succumbed to the competition. Sawyer's did eventually buy TrueView, and you know, I didn't mention Disney, but TrueView had the Disney contracts, and they hadn't done much with them. And Sawyer saw the advantage of that and purchased them. And so Rosenfield died in 1959 at the age of 82. In 58, Rock Island Bridge and Ironworks was sold to Macomber, a steel company, and it was then changed to Rock Island Steel Company, and that eventually closed in 1970. I won't go into what Sawyer's did with TrueView. Eventually, it just became their toy division. They saw Viewmaster as being more of the family product, and they thought, well, what do we do with TrueView? It has a name already. You know, people know it really well. So they went away from the film strips. They decided to do cards. They didn't want to do reels because they didn't want to compete. So David Starkman sent me this great article of how the whole transition, and they tried to come up with a new viewer and what's it going to be like and how are we going to do this. So yeah, they eventually landed on cards. And as you can see, they just had a ton of promotional stuff just for kids, all marketed as like a toy. So that's eventually when you see TrueView become the sort of plastic thing. Okay, enough history. There's way more to TrueView's history that I won't get into. I'm just going to move on to what is collectible. Here are TrueView boxes. So those first two that you see are the earliest boxes. Last time I spoke to you guys, I think, or a couple of meetings back, I only had one. I actually came across another one since then. And then those blue ones are ones that were around the time of the World's Fair. They say different things on them. Those are always good to get. That's third column, just regular TrueView boxes. Then you start to see some of the color sets and the Disney sets that they came out with. That one at the very bottom, red, looks like a little bird on it. That is one of the Fred Harvey sets. And then there are others for like the Grand Canyon and yeah, but those first few in the first two columns are pretty collectible if you can find them in good condition. Those first two, any condition if you find them. Also, there were boxes that were specifically made for advertising. So you can see La Caverna Hotel. It's hard to read on that first one, but it's actually, Ian and I discovered those together. It's like an agricultural firm with a couple of really interesting films, and then Chicago Technical College. The cases, so I'm sure you've seen the wooden cases. If you look at the smallest picture there are different designs. And so a couple of them you don't see very often. There are the leather cases. The big picture, there are actually cases that open horizontally. So those are always cool to have in your collection instead of the ones where the hinges are in the back vertically. Film, I have over 2,000 TrueView films in my collection. There are not 2,000 titles, so I obviously have a lot of duplicates. Those silver ones, I almost never buy anything in a silver box. So I have over 900 that are in a silver box, and yet only about 100 that are in those blue boxes. So those ones that you see in that case that are blue box or even have the red on the end, always get it. Always get it. If it's in good condition, it's so collectible. The most common, Grand Canyon, Yellowstone, you'll see them sit on eBay for like eons. They're just so many of them. TrueView was huge, and there's a ton of them. Least common, though, are some of the Marvel cartoons. Obviously, the advertising, because they didn't make very many. And then some of the really early ones where they experimented with things and never repeated those films. Color-wise, they didn't do great with color. So at the top is one of their color power models film strips. And as you can see, it's faded. At the bottom, however, there are a very small few that were done differently. And the color is still really, really amazing on them. So that bottom one is actually it's a depth photography. They have tons of depth photography, very few that you'll find that are in color. And this one, the color is really good. And also some of the Disney series ones are done, and the color is just still really good on them. A really fun one to find for your collection is this blue base film. So I've got a couple like that, and this is Sally Rand. I believe it is her, maybe the Bubble Dance. Okay, I'm almost done, promise. TrueView, though, you'll know there was an England version of TrueView, spelled differently, same viewer. And same box and film, everything is like the same. There's a lot of speculation as to why that happened. One thing that I did find is that in 1949, one of the chief advertising people said that England is out at the moment because of the pound devaluation. So they had a big presence over there. And then if you look up pound devaluation, there was like a big thing that happened in 1949, and England was out for them. And it was one of their biggest foreign markets. So I think that's when something kind of happened, and they're like, okay, let's just keep this thing going. We can't, be the US TrueView, but we're going to keep it going. So through TrueView, just have a few more. Veriscope F40. This is transposing. So it has a reversing prism inside. You can view image pairs directly from the camera. The mahogany and chrome version came first, and then there was a black backlight later, and the stand is really hard to find. So the difference in design is that the black one actually has holders for the film roll on the side. So you can see where it's on the mahogany one, it would actually hang on the outside, and the black one is different there. And there's the stand. Sightseer, England, 1950s. There are 204 titles, mostly Oxford, London, Canterbury, think places like scenic things, but they also have locomotives, dog show, Madame Tussauds, and I have the Madame Tussauds, and I've got I think a railways one. So I have 13 of the Sightseer films in my collection. Okay, fast forward, 1970s. We're still making film strip viewers. So over in Japan, Pan Pet. And it had this little cord handle. The first one I found, I thought somebody put that on. They actually come out of the box like that. It is Panorama. There's a couple of the boxes. They did a huge promotion with the 1970 Expo. And then there's also a see-through box. I'm gonna have to speed through this. Film, I have 8 of them. They actually did an erotica, a couple of those. I've got 2 of those. Golf, trains I have, and then I have all 5 of the exposition films. That's just what their film strips look like. Lastly, this is the last one, 3Discover from Canada, the 1990s. It is battery operated, panoramic, cartridge based. The color and the quality is amazing. So I have the New York, Great America, Washington, and the Southwest, and Yosemite in my collection. The only two that I do not have, Micro Kino and Superview. So those are two more film strip viewers I don't have in my collection yet. What about roll film? I don't count those, but I'll show these to you anyway. So there's the Celd and the Stereo Elaine. I have both of those in my collection, and they use the same film. This also is like roll film, but these are parallel images, side-by-side images that are, it's a different format, but I thought I would mention them anyway. Someone did ask about them. So in closing, here they all are again, and thank you.
So Keita, would you mind talking a minute about the American Red Cross set and what films were included with that? Were they learning first aid or?
No, they're not special. They're not special to the American Red Cross. They are just a selection of their standard films. Any other questions?
So TrueView must be your favorite one to collect, is it?
It is.
I remember when I was a child, I had one that had the cardboard views, some comics, long gone, but.
Yeah, those are, yeah, I could do an hour just on the card ones too. So I do believe I went over my 20 minutes, but I hope I only used my 10 minutes of Q&A. So I actually had 30 minutes. So hopefully forgive me. If there aren't many questions, then we're probably good on time. Geez, actually, maybe I went really long. Sorry.
We started late, so.
Well, we do still have time for show and tell. But yeah, I will.
That was outstanding. That was so brilliant. So well done. I love your photos. I love your information. I love your history. I just loved your presentation.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you. It was really hard to decide what to put in there, what not to. Yeah, and not to go overboard on TrueView, which you can see is really hard for me. So.
Well, you didn't put any 3D images in, but
no.
It's hard to know what to put in and what not. But you did a gorgeous job. Really fantastic.
Well, thank you. So hopefully you guys all know a little bit more about TrueView and why I do think it is actually really special as being that one to bring everything back to consumers after, the stereoscopes, the home style and those Brewsters. They were expensive. They weren't something for kids. And to kind of just reintroduce it to the market, a few others tried, like I said, and they really carried the ball until Sawyer's took over. So they truly are the missing link. And I do have items from Rock Island Ironworks. So I'm just fascinated by that company in general. And just how inventive and creative they were with marketing and just, making that last. I would not think that something with film strips would last as long as it does. So that just seems like a really sucky media to have. But all right, so let's just move on. feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions or anything to add to the history, because I am still building the history. And I'm going to definitely reach out to Rock Island and their Chamber of Commerce and try to understand why they have nothing on their website about anything related to TrueView. All right, so I'm going to look for who first said they wanted to show something. Pascal.
Yes, I'm jumping back over 100 years, I think, or maybe almost 100 years, because I wanted to show a slide of Ferrier et Soulier that I got recently. And it's always difficult to show those glass slides on the screen because they seem almost to be flat because they are supposed to be viewed in a special viewer. But this one I find quite appealing on the PC. So this will be a parallel view. I'll try to present now. Hope you see it.
Wow.
So this is one of the early slides of Ferrier et Soulier around 1860, probably. You can see this when you look at the golden frames that are both separated in the middle. Later, they had only one larger golden frame, and then a little later, they stopped having that golden frame. So this should be around 1860, I think. Just wanted to share this with you. Also, I will zoom in a little so that you can see that those slides were really brilliant. You can also see here the little guy sitting, and you can also see the texture on the stone. So these Ferrier et Soulier slides are really, really brilliant and sharp. I really love them, but they are sometimes difficult to find. Wow. So far from me.
Nice. Thank you, Pascal. All right, Ian, what you got?
Well, I finally acquired something I consider a missing link in the VistaScreen story. As some of you know, I collect VistaScreen. This is one of my 6 boxes, got over 300 sets. But about 2 years ago, I started discovering European language cards with strange designations on them that didn't line up. Or which overlapped with the standard British VistaScreen sets. And you can see here, this is Paris, and this is what a typical VistaScreen box looked like. So I tried researching it, tried finding anything I could from the Capital Paper Company, which is the parent company of VistaScreen, and I found Sawdall for about 2 years. And then a few weeks ago, I went on eBay, and there was a buy it now auction for this. And this is confirmation that TrueView created sets for the European market. This is specifically a French packet. It opens differently from a typical VistaScreen packet. And it says on the back, Capital Productions, which is another name for the Capital Paper Company, which confirms that it's legitimate. And on comparing this set with the Paris set, the only thing different is that this only has the designation Series 115 as opposed to Series M115. So this overlaps in series number with Gloucester, which is a standard, easy to find VistaScreen set, but it has the same images. So I've now proven that VistaScreen actually made cards for the French market. I'm hoping to come across, because there are Italian language cards, an Italian packet someday as well.
Wow, congrats on that find. That's awesome.
Yeah, a couple of years in the making.
Nice. next up is Dave Camo.
That is correct. Thank you. Very good. So I'm going to try to share. I'm logged in on my phone as well. What I wanted to share is moving to today and Halloween. My mom has a yard in Pennsylvania, and we set up Halloween stuff all October, usually. We're a little late this year, but I'm using something called the Orbix 360 to put the photos into these photospheres, because I've been taking 3D photos every year. So let's see if I can get this to work right. Okay, so this Orbix 360 app is pretty cool. It's on the web, and you can just basically add a 360 photo, or you can add side-by-side stereo pairs, and then you can arrange them. So right now you're seeing the view from my phone, and I'm kind of swiping around, but I can also move my phone, and I can switch it into cardboard view. So this is going to give you a side-by-side view. Now this is not, let's see, this is not 360. So let me go back, or I'm sorry, this is not 3D. Let me go to one that has 3D in it. Okay. So this has 3D in it. I turn it side by side. So these are my stereo pairs. You should be able to see these by free viewing or by using lorgnettes. I guess I have to kind of move around. And so these are photos that I just kind of threw up there. It don't really make sense to be in that spot. But you can change the size and send a link to various people and what have you. And then you can also have a slideshow. Let me just show that real quick, because I think it's kind of a little way to view your photos, right? So there. How does it work on the phone? Oh, okay, I can click on it. Oh, these aren't, okay. So this should be side by, let's go on here. Okay, well, it seems to have blown up and gone back to the other thing. But anyway, I'll put the link in here. And it's a really neat way if you want to just show your 3D photos side by side in like on the web and in VR.
Nice.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing. You said you're going to drop a link.
Yeah, I can stick them in there. Here's the. It's always like it gets really. We have to clean it up in November when it's cold and there's a bunch of real spiders and slugs and it's raining and it's awful. But it's fun to look back at all the pictures.
Nice. Thank you, Dave.
Thank you.
Dave Starkman, you're up. Oh, we can't hear you.
I think he said he.
Oh.
David, you're muted.
Thought he said he couldn't unmute before in the chat.
Oh. Okay. Oh, that's interesting. We cannot hear you.
Oh, can you hear it now?
Oh, yes, now we can.
I kept clicking on it and it wouldn't unmute. I'm sorry. All
That's
right. Okay, so mine is a camera today to show. Hold on here. So first time we went to an international convention, I was very impressed how, compared to Americans, the Europeans, and especially the British, had a lot of do-it-yourself, build their own equipment. And this is a little bit related to that. So a lot of you are familiar with the Coronet 3D camera. It was a British 127 roll film camera. This is an earlier version. The later ones had a stereo viewfinder at the top. This is an earlier one with a speckled plastic finish. But for those familiar with the Coronet, they may not know that before the Coronet was an earlier camera called the Robin Hood. And the big difference, if you see them side by side, is this has a roll film back on it for 127 roll film. The Robin Hood was the ultimate British do-it-yourself everything camera. The back, which came off, was literally designed to put one
Wow.
piece of sheet negative in the dark, load it into the camera. After you shot it, this became the developing tank in the dark. And this is the box it came in. Everything still was in the original cellophane. And in that box is, well, first there was the film. This is the original film never been used that you would put into the camera, into the back. This, it's starting to disintegrate. This is the packet with the chemicals. I'll have to hold it upside down. I'm going to have to seal this up. It had two tablets and one packet of powder for the developing. Oh, the red filter to do your to put over a light inside your home darkroom, and then for printing, the gaslight paper, and this is the a printing frame that you would put into to hold it in place when you were doing the printing. And this is the instruction booklet that shows all of that. And there's the camera, and this is showing you the developing process. And the last item to make the package complete was the Robin Hood viewer, which is a cardboard viewer with the two lenses, and literally a plastic holder where you slip the picture behind the plastic to hold it in place. So that's the complete Robin Hood outfit in the original box.
Starkman? Sorry.
Yeah.
You contact printed the thing, right? Is that what you're saying?
Pardon me?
You contact printed the thing?
Yeah, you did a contact print.
And then how do you transpose? Don't you have a problem with the reverse thing? And you can't flip it around because it's on paper.
I guess they figured you'd have to cut it apart and transpose it once you made your print.
Okay.
I'll have to look at the book and see if they mention that.
Otherwise, you're printing on paper rather than a transparency. You can't just flip it over.
No, you'd make a contact print, and I guess you had to transpose it. Yeah.
Nice. Thank you, David.
Oh.
That's very cool.
You're welcome.
I actually have that Robin Hood viewer, but that's all I have is just that viewer.
Well, now you know what went with it.
Yes, that's awesome. I'll have to chat with you later about that.
Okay.
Very cool.
I'll make a copy of the manual.
Oh, cool. Thank you. Next up, Cindy.
Hey, mine is actually 3D in progress. I'm graduating from my phone camera, which I've just hated doing sequential stereos on, and I'm building myself a twin rig with lots of help from people much more experienced than I am. So it's short, it's sweet.
How are you liking it?
I've just got my wide angle lenses at the beginning of this meeting showed up on my doorstep. So it's a work in progress. I like building things. So we'll see how this does better for me.
Okay, awesome. Thanks for sharing that.
Which cameras? Are they Sony?
Yeah, Sony A6100s.
Thank you.
Thanks, Cindy. Next is Robert McAfee.
So I have a couple of things. Let me see my views. So this is I'll have to do change the blur so you can see. Okay, so this is a macro flash. It's so big I can't get it all into one picture, but it's got a unit that fits onto the hot shoe, or I guess you could have it off camera with a slave, or and it has two flash tubes on the end of something like lock line. If you've ever worked with any lathes or anything like that, use lock line for coolant. And then this one has a single LED light in the middle, and you can control the level of the output for all of those. So you can bend these things around to where you want it to, get a little bit of backlighting or whatever to illuminate your object. I've had it for a little bit, and I wanted to kind of play with it on the counter. I'm just trying to get into a little bit of macro stereo. I really haven't any prior macro experience. And then I think I may have mentioned in this meeting, or at least some other one before, I've designed and 3D printed an adapter for the Panasonic 3D lens, the FT012. So here's the Panasonic camera. It's a GX1, and they have this lens they produced, which splits the frame. And Dr. T and others have some articles and presentations about modifying the lens, because it's a very narrow interocular, and you don't get much of a depth effect. So it's really better for close-up, but then it can't focus that close. So I've designed and 3D printed this adapter. It has a screw thread. I can do a 49 or a 52 millimeter, and it simply slips over, something pulled up here, slips over the other lens. It's a friction fit and very secure on there. And I'm using a achromatic lens. This happens to be a Kenko, which is very good, very nice lens. It's actually multi-element. I think there's at least 2 elements. It's a high quality lens, and you can put different ones. So what I did is I did modify my lens with some washers behind it to bring it out a little bit, so I can do a little bit close, make it a little bit larger in image, and then I can put my adapter on. And if I want to get even closer, bigger image, I can change to a higher power close-up lens. So I did produce a few spares of these. I actually have 2 that I would be willing to sell with the lens and a front lens cap. And I also 3D printed a rear lens cap, so you could just leave it assembled in your bag if you wanted to. So that's it for me. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Robert. Y'all are doing some big things there. That's cool. I've not started taking 3D photographs yet. I will. I promise. I promise I will.
So I'm going to put a link in the chat for a sample of this flash. It's not the one I bought. It's sold with different names. This one happens to be quite expensive, but if you do some searching on eBay, you can find it for quite a lower price. And I've noticed that recently they have a version that they replaced that center LED lamp, which again is also adjustable and level, with a 3rd flash tube. So if anyone were interested.
All right. Thank you, Robert. We've got 3 more people, so let's all hang in for them. So we have Andre, then Maria, and then Lenka. So Andre, what do you have?
Yeah, thank you.
Oh, and Eric.
I want to share with you my latest acquisition, which is a Heinemann HEAC 4 stereo camera. I hope you can see it.
Yes, and that looks amazing.
What's the name again?
Heinemann HEAC 4. HEAC is an abbreviation for Heinrich Heinemann Aktiengesellschaft. Heinrich Heinemann was one of the largest manufacturers of cameras in Germany in the beginning of the 20th century. The company merged into Zeiss Nikon in 1926. And the HEAC series was a series of normal cameras and stereo cameras. I think there were probably 25 or 30 different models. And this camera supports 9 by 18 centimeter glass plate negatives, but it could also be used with film pack. And it is produced somewhere between 1908 and 1918. And I'm very happy with this one because it's in very good condition. The nickel parts, the wooden parts, so even the shutter is working. So happy me.
Yeah, that's really beautiful. Jealous there. All right, thank you, Andre. Maria.
Hello, everybody. I hope you can hear me all right.
Yes.
I was having a bit of trouble with the audio here. So, I'm pretty much a beginner. I only started in March trying to take stereos. So I'm still sequential. But a couple of meetings ago, Helen had done a presentation about taking stereos of light. And I kind of wondered out loud in the chat about trying to take pictures of the security lights at my apartment building at night and see how they would turn out. So let me see if I can pull this up and I'll show you my first couple of attempts. Well, now it's not saying, it's saying I can't share it. What is going on? It's not letting me pull them up.
Do you have the?
I followed the instructions that you sent me about presenting for my tablet.
Do you see a present now?
Yeah, and I hit that, and it asked me your entire screen, and I hit that and says, "Sorry, an error has occurred when screen sharing."
Oh no.
So, I could send them to you on Instagram's Messenger, Keita.
Yes.
If you want to be able to pull those up, but otherwise, I don't know what to tell you guys. I can't get to work.
Yes, let's do this. Can you message me on the BSC Global 3D? And then while the next,
I'm sorry, on what?
On the so not my 3D collector Instagram, but on the BSC Global, the one that you and I were chatting on.
Yes.
Yep. If you message that to me, I'll see if while the next people are sharing, I can bring that up.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll do that. Thanks.
All right. Thanks. We'll see if we can get that. All right. And Linka.
Hi, everyone, again. So I would like to present something which is a result of me being at one of your meetings. So as you remember, I presented some of my stereo views of Egyptian dancers from late 19th century. And after the meeting, I contacted David and Ian, and David provided me amazing instructions how to make anaglyphs from the stereo views. But as I was about to give birth, it was not the best timing, I would say, to do it. But Ian helped me so much and helped me with creating anaglyphs from those stereo views. And I'm really happy about this because, yeah, it's amazing. And I would like to show you at least one of the anaglyphs. So you will need your, yes, you will need your glasses. Entire screen. Okay, hopefully. So I don't know, can you see my screen? Or not?
No, not yet.
No. Okay. Sorry. Yeah, okay, I see. Now it should be there. Yes.
It's coming. It's coming.
Coming.
Yes.
Yeah, so you can see the anaglyph.
Oh, yes.
Yes?
Nice.
Okay.
Yes.
Wonderful. So I decided to share this one because for me, as a historian, it's a very important one because this is a dancer from south of Egypt, Gazeya, and these dancers, they were banned from Cairo and Alexandria, and they moved down in south of Egypt, and they are very special in our belly dance community. And I really love this one because of her smile, especially, and very nice and unique costume. So I wanted to share this one with you, and especially say big thanks to your community because honestly, before the first meeting I joined, I didn't know about anaglyphs at all. So this is this is completely new world for me, and I'm super happy to join. So thank you very much.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's great. I'm going to switch over really quickly and share Maria's photo. So I do have it. So let me just bring that up really quickly. Can you all see that? Sorry, I switched away. Are you able to see that?
Yes.
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 Okay. Maria, did you want to talk about this a little bit?
Wow.
Is Maria still there?
Maybe she's muted.
Are you mute? Because I can't, now that I'm presenting.
Yes, I'm still here.
Okay. Is there anything
I'm
you
still
wanted
here.
to say about this? There was that one, and then you sent this one as well.
Yes. And these are my first couple of attempts of taking stereo photographs of the security lights along my apartment building, inspired by Helen's presentation about taking 3Ds of light.
Cool.
Very nice.
Very nice. Good job.
Yes, and thank you so much for
I'm
following through and sharing.
experimenting with it, and I hope to get better shots later. Thank you guys.
Awesome. All right. And is there, I'm scrolling. Is there anyone? Oh, Eric, I think is our last one.
Yeah. Hey, Keita, how are you?
Hi. Good.
First, I wanted to ask you if you've included any of the ViewMaster, the more recent ViewMaster Filmstrip-based viewers. In 1997, let me see, I think I have pictures I can show you.
More.
Okay, yes. This was a Fisher-Price ViewMaster Filmstrip-based pocket viewer that was put out to tie in with an IMAX film, T-Rex, if you can see that.
Oh, nice. No, I've never seen that before.
So it's a I forget what year this one came out. This was already once Fisher Price was doing it. It's a compact pocket viewer, but it's got an internal film strip.
Oh.
So you advance through the pictures and then it comes back to the beginning again.
I gotta get it.
And then there's the 1997 Tycho produced. Let me find the window for this one.
Eric,
yes.
If I may mention,
yes.
If we all were to mention all the viewers that haven't been, the Filmstrip viewers that haven't been mentioned today, we could spend the rest of the day here.
Oh, sure.
Wait. While I'm not suggesting that we should do that, I'm just suggesting that Keita has shown us a magnificent show of the tip of the iceberg.
Yes.
And it's a great iceberg. But the thing is, we could all do show and tell next time, maybe, of some of the other film strip viewers that are out there that Keita, Keita doesn't own yet. And I'm not trying to stop you, but I'm sitting here thinking, wait a second, I should go run and show you that Italian one that you don't have, and that Russian one that you don't have.
Oh no! Oh no!
Every country has these things, not to mention all the American ones that you don't have yet, Keita.
Right. Well, the other one I thought you might like that I just had handy to show was this 1997. It's actually a talking ViewMaster that had different cartridges that you could get to snap into it. So it would play a digital soundtrack off of a chip in the cartridge.
Nice. Yeah, I think 3 Discover one is as late as I came. 1990. I think that was 98.
And then the other thing that I have here, if you'd like to see it, I actually have a scan of one of my favorite TrueView reels that I can show. And I can run it either in parallel side by side or anaglyph, depending on what people would prefer to see it as.
Let's go with anaglyph. And Stacy, I like your suggestion. Stacy is suggesting that everyone work towards getting me a complete film strip viewer.
Okay, so let me pick an anaglyph.
There's a film strip viewer that actually went to the Hajj in Mecca.
Which one? What's it called?
It's David. What's the name of the Italian viewer?
3D Land.
Oh, that one. I know that one. Oh, and I have heard.
Oh, is this anaglyph?
Anaglyph.
So yeah, I'll do this in anaglyph.
No, I thought you did.
No.
I can't get on.
So this is one of my favorite TrueView reels. The reel itself is called Land of Little Wooden People, but it's a photography strip of the Olvera Street Puppet Theater that no longer exists, but was on Olvera Street, the oldest street in Los Angeles at the Los Angeles Mission. The first panel. Let's take a trip to Olvera Street in Los Angeles. Here's the most unique theater in the world. The actors are carved completely of wood and are less than 2 feet high. Under the deft hands of Paul Walton and Michael O'Rourke, their artist creators, these tiny folk come to life to act out on their miniature stage. I'll advance through here.
It's not my computer causing the problem.
Somebody is not on mute.
So I believe this film strip dates back to 1939. But puppets are always a favorite subject of mine.
Nice. I remember Olvera Street. We had field trips in elementary school every year to Olvera Street.
Yeah, I did that in elementary school too. I should mention on the TrueView film strips, even if you have multiples of the same title, that if you look at the strip not in the viewer, and I think it's near the end of every strip in one of the blank frames between the stereo pairs, there's a date for that when that strip was made.
Yes. Yes. And not all of them have the same pictures. So there are early versions that have extra frames on them.
Extra meaning more. What's the normal number?
The normal number is 14. 14 pictures. So 28 frames, and then there are some that have 16.
Never knew.
Yes.
Thank you, Eric.
So
Those are great.
Thank you.
And it's kind of interesting to me. I mean, it's 1939, so by today's standards, a lot of the imagery is considered politically incorrect. But it's an artifact of its time.
Nice. Thank you, Eric. Yeah, it would be great. I know Ian has digitized a few of the advertising ones that I have. I have a Westinghouse one he digitized, and it would be so nice to have so many more of them digitized. But if you've ever been to Ian's blog,
I'll get some of those up soon. But in terms of the racially problematic stuff, I do have the New York Chinatown set posted on my blog at the link. You can scroll down and find it, and that's one of the seriously problematic trivia roles that was discontinued.
Yeah.
In 5.
Well, as long as you put them in historical context.
Yeah.
Yes.
Always do.
Yep. I still like the old Charlie Chan movies.
When you look at the movies and entertainment of the 1930s, you do have to look at it through the lens of the time that it was produced. So,
of course.
I do see a question here.
Keita, I would love sometime to digitize your Hollywood Filmoscope strips.
Ah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I've got 2. Gary is the one with the rest. Gary Deneen.
Ah. Oh, okay. I should talk to Gary too, because I've got the viewer, but I have not been able to locate any of the film strips yet.
One day, Gary will have mercy on me and will let me buy those from him. And he's got a novel view set that I've never seen before.
I'll fight you for those filmoscopes.
Oh wow! So yeah,
no. If you'll let me digitize them, you can have them.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I love seeing them digitized. I haven't looked at half of the things that I have. I have so many. Yeah, and I have some that are not mentioned in any of the books, not on any order forms, just things that I've come across. So those are always nice to find. I see a question, someone asking if they get brittle. Not that I have noticed. There are some that I can tell were not ever, so they're super coiled because they're in those small boxes. But I have found some that, so what are they, like maybe demo ones that were never sold because they're very loose. They've never been coiled up like that. So that one that had the amazing color that I was showing, and then also I have a Colleen Moore dollhouse one that they don't have that curl to them.
Keita, I actually have a question I just came up with. Do they get vinegar syndrome? I haven't smelled any. It's when acetate film breaks down and smells like vinegar, and they're safety film.
Not that.
And it happens in motion picture film all the time, but I've never smelled any of Ian's that had it.
Not that I've noticed, but luckily someone did tell me on the nitrate ones to be careful not to keep them closed up. So I have them. I only have a few. So they're breathing.
I told you that, I think, Keita. Yeah, they're nitrate, the Colleen Moore dollhouse films.
Yes, and I have a couple more that are nitrate. But no, I haven't noticed that.
Acetate film breaks down and it stinks of vinegar. Yeah, and it happens on motion picture film all the time.
Nitrate film is incredibly flammable.
Yes.
So there are special storage considerations you need for that.
And if nitrate foam breaks down, it smells like rotten eggs, and not rotten eggs, but like rotten. It's rank. It's really bad.
Yeah. No, not that I've noticed. I will be on the lookout for that.
That's very interesting because it happens in film quite a lot. So that makes, I don't know if it's just the size of it.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, definitely,
the thing I found.
Go ahead.
Oh, the thing I found, the TrueView reels themselves aren't very brittle, but the sprockets have a tendency to break.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So and I think Ian does this as well. Like I do not use the advance on them. Ooh. I just pull them through, and I find whichever one has the least friction and I use those. So I have some that are broken. I have so many TrueView viewers. So yeah, I'll just use one of those for like a lot of the insides are just kind of loose, and I'll pull through.
Do you also? I prefer to use the plastic viewer over the earlier one, because I feel like it's more gentle on the strips.
I don't know. I think I used the earlier one. Yeah.
Okay.
Something I didn't mention. I don't know if you've come across any of these. There are 2 for sale on eBay, and I refuse to pay that much for them because I already have, I think, 4 of them. Are the erotic ones. They're from the 1930s of the dude. Well, so they don't say TrueView because, TrueView wouldn't put their name on them. But I did hear that it was one of the photographers that would shoot for TrueView. Also had a little office where he'd invite women over and shoot them in his office and use the same production methods and get those produced. So I have a few of them. But there are some that are mentioned though in the book in what's the Stereo Views book. So they mention I think about 5 or 6 different models, and they call them art studies. So for a long time, I've been on the lookout for TrueView art studies. And so I found these. They don't say TrueView. One of them has the same model's name as in the book though. So, and I could tell in the background of some, as well as the one on eBay, that it's the same background. I'm trying to zoom in and read what's on some of the advertising in the background, but no luck there yet. So yeah, it's always fun.
The difference is, Keita, if you want to see naked women, you can look at yourself.
I know. That's right.
We don't have that same need.
Oh, I think Stacy would argue with you there.
Well, I'm fine with both.
Okay.
All right. So, all right. Well, I guess we can wrap. Oh, wait. Was that Alicia? Alicia saying she had something to show, but I don't know if she's on anymore. I'm just now seeing that. Oh.
She's here.
You're here. What have you got to show us, Alicia? I'm sorry that I didn't see you.
She's writing something.
She's just not.
She's here, but she's not.
Okay. All right. So I'm thinking maybe she's not able to show.
Apparently.
Okay. Okay. Says it can't now. Okay. Sorry, I didn't see that message earlier, Alicia. And if I missed anyone else, hopefully I didn't. All right. Well, we are maybe, 15 minutes over? So thank you, everyone. We will meet up again in 2 weeks. And thanks for sitting through my long talk and for sharing all of your wonderful things.
Thank you, Keita. This was great.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye, everyone. Thanks for coming.
Bye-bye.